Hi everyone, welcome to another bonus episode of the 26 Days to Greatness Challenge. I am really happy and excited that you guys are back. And today we're going to talk about health and wellness. And with Eva Vennari, who is the founder and CEO of the Elevate Institute, which is a cutting-edge health coaching firm specializing in empowering driven professionals to take charge of their body and their health. She's also the creator of Reveal Optimal Health Intensive that lets you understand exactly what your body needs to heal and rejuvenate so you can continue bringing your vision to the world. That is so exciting because health is such a huge component. It's the ultimate foundation behind everything that we get to do and create. So with that being said, Eva, thank you so much for being on here today. I'm excited.
It's my pleasure. I can't wait.
Awesome. So before we get into the good part of the interview, why don't you share a little bit more about who you are, your journey? How did you get to doing the work that you do today?
Well, it wasn't something I decided to do when I was 5 years old. Remember in kindergarten, they said, what do you want to be when you grow up? I think I might have said something about nurse but that's different, way different than the kind of work that I'm doing now. And it's something that you don't realize is needed until you've tried everything else to solve your problems. And then suddenly there's nothing there and it has to be created. So I was put in that place myself. I was riddled with chronic conditions and not in the health industry. I was in I was in construction for 16 years. And before that in information technology. And these are all for driven professionals, all very competitive, high powered types of positions, and found myself burnt out and had chronic fatigue and insomnia and depression. And at first that seems like, well, you're not in a wheelchair, so people dismiss it. They go, oh, well, you don't look like you're sick. You just look like you're a little tired. Go shake it off. Go have some coffee. And the coffee didn't help. And at some point it turned into other things. And when you go from doctor to doctor, not to poo-poo doctors at all, because I think they have a very valuable a place in our health. But when those resources fail you, what do you do? And I had to answer that question for myself. And I realized that once I did, I had something valuable to share with others.
I bet, because that's so many people go through, exactly like you mentioned, chronic fatigue, depression, that's invisible and people dismiss that. So I'm excited. How did the rest of the journey unfold?
Well, yeah, those things are very invisible. In fact, there's an issue with the invisibility of it. You yourself start to dismiss it. Or the opposite can be true, where you take on the identity of the problem and say, oh, well, I have this problem. I'm an insomniac, or I have chronic fatigue. And it's very difficult to get past that mentality that you're limited and that you can actually, it's a journey. So this really was not just a physical journey for me to correct the imbalances that I found were mineral related and toxic metal related. But it was that mental and the emotional, because I had found myself supporting an unhealthy body through habits that limited me a great deal. So for example, if I were to go out with some friends and have a glass of wine, it would take me 4 days to recover from that one glass of wine. And we're talking about in my 30s. Okay, this you're supposed to be at your prime of having fun and being out there, and I couldn't. So I found earlier on, so the depression started when I was a teenager. By the time I was 20, I was married. 21, I had a miscarriage. And by the time I was 22, I was told I was infertile. And a lot of people don't realize that there's a connection between depression, chronic fatigue, and infertility. So I was just told, oh, you have hypothyroidism. And that's a huge buzzword right now in the medical community. And you hear comics talking about it, getting up on stage and saying, oh, I was feeling tired and I went to the doctor and he told me I was hypothyroid. And then they stop there and they take the medication and I'm like, okay, I'm fixed. And I'm here to tell you, you're not. There's a whole underlying environment. So the way I look at it is this is what I came to after doing this for the better part of a decade and working with hundreds of people all over the world. That when we look at the relationship that we have with our bodies, think of it as an environment, an eco environment. So let's think, okay, symptoms, let's equate that to being in a swamp. In the swamp, your body is the environment, and moss grows really well in a swamp. So you could have all these different symptoms. Now, taking medication is the same thing as getting into a little boat in that swamp and cutting out all of the moss and saying, okay, it's gone. The thing is, you're still in the environment that's going to grow it back. So what I do is instead get down into the nitty gritty, that environment of the swamp, and change it to more of a desert, like more arid. And that way you have symptoms that don't grow or aren't supported. So in other words, there are no symptoms.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. So like taking medications and that's pretty much like putting a band-aid over the symptoms, but what created the symptoms are still underlying in the environment.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's dive into that. Like,
yeah.
I want to know. So like so what constitutes this environment? Like it has to do with our habits, obviously the food that we eat, but what are the things that most significant, like that you discover from that journey?
It's the hidden things. So when we go to the doctor and we have a complaint, what's the first thing they do? They draw blood. And they run that test and they see what's going on in the blood. And that's very valuable. It is. But when you hear the response, oh, everything's fine, you're within normal range, right? Number of people have heard that. You're in the normal range, you're fine, it's all in your head, go home. And if it was all in your head, you would feel good anyway. You would still feel good, right? It wouldn't be an imbalance. And so I found that the only way to figure out what truly is going on, it's the relationship of minerals in the body and how well your body detoxes from the daily load of toxins you are exposed to. And I'm not just talking about heavy metals. I'm talking about chemicals. And think of all of the things that we're exposed to right now with we're in the middle of the COVID-19 issue. So we're having to wipe down areas with bleach more often and use what's the antibacterial soaps and the antibacterials, all the other things. That's a chemical overload on the body. But anyways, that can accumulatively cause problems. So I found that to be the case for me. And the only way, I kept thinking to myself, if I give my body what it needs, it'll heal itself. That's a very Eastern thought, Eastern medicine thought. And then the next logical question was, well, how do you know what the body needs?
Right.
And for me, I didn't find those answers in blood. Obviously, I went from 10 different doctors over the course of a few years, up to 15 years, looking for answers and going to different specialists. And the blood never gave me the type of information that I found in hair. So hair mineral analysis can reveal, that's why I call it the Reveal Optimal Health Intensive. It reveals the relationships of minerals that determine your vitality. And why is that important? Vitality isn't just that external, how much energy do you have to go for a run, or do I need a nap, or can I concentrate right now? That is healing energy. Vitality is about how well are you getting rid of those toxins you're exposed to every day? How well are you creating new cells? Because we're supposed to rejuvenate every night. Recreate our hormones. Man, most people are taking bioidentical hormones to replace what we should already be making on our own. And you know what that's like? That's like getting behind your perfectly good car when it's out of gas, and instead of going to the gas station, we push it. We push the car. So I get people to take their car to the gas station and fill it with gas. And that way it works like it's supposed to, rather than us trying to force it to do something it's not meant to do.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about like the toxicity, like the chemicals. It sounds like, it's not only about the food that we eat, like it's everything.
Yeah. It's very comprehensive and it's almost overwhelming. So it's about taking bite-sized chunks and changing what you can. And really the benefit that I bring is like, there are things that we think are healthy, but for a healthy body, it's fine. For one that's depleted, there are alarms that go off in my head when I hear people who are like, oh, I'm really tired, or my potassium's low, so I eat a banana. Okay, for a person who has low energy and low vitality, a banana is too much. You're going to burn yourself out. It's like, putting it's like putting something that requires way too much energy into a socket that can't afford it. It's going to blow out. So there's things that you need to change ever so slightly to make the most difference for your own healing. And that's the power of individual care.
So Eva, like you mentioned, it sounds like, when we are new to this process, like I can only think at the top of my mind how many things could be have crazy chemicals, like including my shampoo or even my makeup and like all kinds of stuff. So where do we begin? Like, what do I look at first?
I start everybody by looking at the hair test. So I want to see what's going on and support you minerally. So we start with your food, because supplements are meant to supplement an already healthy diet. You know, and people who say, oh, supplements don't work, well, then I question it, because it's been working for me and hundreds of people that I've worked with to reverse issues over the years. It's the how much, the what kind, and when. Those things matter. And so if you're getting any of that wrong because of somebody said, oh, you should take B12 right now because that's what they did, how do you know it's right for you? And that's where the hair test takes it out. So you start with the hair. We get on the food, we find out what changes we can make right away that will make the best healing difference for you. What's going to create more vitality for you. And then we go from there. And I have, I call it detective detox. And we kind of go through the house with like you said, your hair products, your personal care laundry detergents. What sits against your skin all day long matters. And most detergents don't rinse out in the wash. So you absorb, I know, now you're scared. I saw the look and I recognize it. There's no need to be in fear. There are a lot of really good high quality products that are much less abrasive on our system. If you can smell it when the laundry is working, then most likely it's a chemical reaction to you. Yeah, so if you can smell it, I recommend not using it.
So we want to use detergents that can be smelled.
Yeah, I would get the unscented. Yeah, it's especially, so the more intensely that you smell that scent, like the stronger it is for your experience, because everybody experiences smell differently. The slower your body's, I call it oxidation rate, your vitality is actually a lot lower. So the more intense you experience smells, the lower your body's vitality is. And that's something that I help to correct. So chemical sensitivity, if somebody walks into a room with perfume on and you know it, you've got chemical sensitivity.
Oh, that's fascinating. Okay, so the stronger you can smell like chemicals, that means the lower your vitality?
Vitality, immune system, your ability to fight off infection. Yeah, however you want to put that. It's the, you know.
Okay, so sounds like, okay, I'm curious about the hair analysis. Like, how does that work? Like, why would you look at the hair other than like other parts of your bodies?
Yeah. So the hair has a full history of about, I should say this, the closest area next to your scalp, about an inch's worth, is, let's say, 30 days worth of growth. So in blood and any other bodily fluids that we take for testing, it's in that moment, it's in that day. It's not going to give you a comprehensive information over a period of time, not unless you do another test, and then concatenate them. So this gives you a comprehensive period of time that relays a trend in the body. So you could be low blood sugar 1 minute and yet be normal most of the time. But if you do that blood test while you're low blood sugar, your doctor's going to say, oh, you've got low blood sugar problems. No, you don't. You just had it in that moment when it was tested. So the hair gives you that comprehensive, how am I normally, like over a period of time, what is the trend? So that's the difference between just the blood. And the blood only tells you, and a lot of the other fluid tests only tell you what's going on in that fluid. Whereas the hair test tells you comprehensively what's going on with your glands, what's going on with the blood, and what's going on at the cellular level.
That's so cool. So like, do you look at like the minerals that's in the hair, and that will tell you the overall?
Right. So just like what sits against your skin all day long, it absorbs. What you eat, what you drink, and what you breathe all have minerals and chemicals and toxins in them. There's no doorman that says, you can't come in here because you're a toxin, or I have enough of you, I'm full of that one. It all goes in, right? So the body then uses whatever it has in priority, has preferences, it prefers quality minerals. But guess what? If you don't have quality minerals in your diet or in your surroundings, then the body will use what's in its surroundings, even if it's not good for you, because its prime objective is to keep you alive. So it's going to use whatever it can. Just like when a car's tire blows, I use a lot of car analogies. When a car's tire blows, you used to put a donut tire on it. We know that it's not a real tire and it's not going to perform quite the same, but it will be used. So the body uses toxic metals and chemicals just like a spare tire. Yeah.
I love the car analogies because like it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I want to get a better picture of like why minerals? Like, I mean, why are minerals so important in our body? What does it do?
Yeah.
Like
it's what we're made of. It's so we're stardust, right? We're made of dirt and minerals, and we're supposed to get our minerals from our food. And it used to be the case where we could eat just food and receive enough nutrients in order to build more quality us. That's what we're made of, is minerals. Right. So without it in the right quantity and the right quality, we have a subpar created body. You know, what we're made of is absolutely what we eat is what we are. Or we are what we eat is the phrase. So yeah, minerals, and it's not just the individual mineral levels. When I look at a test, you definitely get to see mineral levels of different, yeah, let me show you. I show you one. I'll just give you an example and I'll pull her name off. So I'll cover it. So that's a test. Yeah. And I can see very clearly from this, yeah, what's going on with the body's systems, what's going on with their thyroid, their adrenals, their ability to get rid of the toxins, all of that's here. And we can see when the body has enough of the right minerals to throw out, we call it dumping, to get rid of toxins.
So you just need one strand of my hair and you can figure all that out?
A little bit more than that, but not enough that you're going to notice. I mean, look at how much hair I have, and I've been doing this for years.
Right.
Yeah.
And how often do you like do this analysis for yourself, like to make sure everything's good?
For about a 3-year period, because I had over 30 different symptoms and diagnoses. So it took me 3 years to come out of what's called adrenal fatigue or burnout. That's now a common term that wasn't there 20 years ago. I was laughed at. So every 4 months is when you're actively working to get the body back to a foundation that you probably weren't born with but should have been. So resetting the body back to an ideal for you. I don't like to use the word normal, but ideal. That can take anywhere from 6 months to 3 years, depending on what's going on with that individual. So we start with the first hair test, and I include the second hair test, and then we go from there to see, because there's no point in continuing it if you don't really need it. But some people are so depleted by the time they get to me. They've done the same thing I did. They went from doctor to doctor. They haven't received a lot of help. They're on medications. They want off of them. High blood pressure, high cholesterol. They're sick all the time. The immune system is not fighting off things the way it should. These are things that I help with.
So Eva, I'm more curious about your journey, because like 30 symptoms and diagnosis, and to now you're just so radiant and so healthy to where you're at. Like, how was that journey like for you? Like, how did you even discover like mineral analysis? Like, who even thought like I'm gonna check out my hair? Like, how? And then like what exactly did you do? And obviously it's a process, like how, because something like this is so intangible, like we can't predict what's gonna happen. So how did you keep going on this journey when things were so kind of like, you know, not so good for you at that time?
And even a little bit nebulous. So I had tried many different solutions over that 16-year period. And at the time, the internet was not quite as user-friendly as it is today. You couldn't put in a sentence in Google. It was more like you had to have keywords that matched specifically in that right order. And it's like, wow, okay, I'm having a hard time finding issues, you know, my problem. So between books and changing the diet and going through the different Eat Right for Your Blood type and the Candida diet and the Miracle Coconut diet, it's like, okay, they would work for a little while.
Yeah.
And then they would stop working, or it was so unsustainable for me that after I stopped doing whatever that diet was, I reverted and sometimes became worse. So the frustration is what made me continue to go forward, because I was raising 2 girls on my own. I was a single mom. I got married and had my kids, and then I divorced. And that is a huge drain on the energy system just by itself, but add to that now a full-time job. So it was a search. It was a constant search. If I don't get this, I won't be around. And I felt that dire. So it was that drive of, I must succeed, because if I don't, the option is to go on Social Security disability, and doctors told me this. Oh, what's going to happen? You'll be on medications and you'll be of no use to anyone. And that was not going to happen for me, because I'm an overachiever to the max. And so I thought, I want to be something of use to society, to my community. I want to be of value. So the journey, remember I had insomnia. So now I say I was blessed with insomnia, up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I used Google, and I put in a search string of all those 30 different diagnoses and symptoms. And I came across this article after a rabbit hole. You dig and go down one click to another click. And I came across this article that started to talk about my experience, what it would be like if you had not just chronic fatigue, but some mineral imbalances that were creating it. For me, copper toxicity was one of them, adrenal burnout, and it was describing that. And I was like, wow, this really is me. This is my experience in my body. And at the end, it was talking about how this community of people that did hair mineral analysis had discovered a way out. And so this is not new. It's just like a mushroom in the dark. And my job is to bring it out into the light, so more people can benefit from it. It's been around for about 60 years, and it was invented by Dr. Paul Eck. He's one of the 2 that really brought this into the forefront and created a certification program. So as I became a client and discovered that past that 30 days, I wasn't just feeling better, but it was sustainable. And past 90 days, I started to get rid of my arthritis, my chronic pain, my fibromyalgia was starting to go away. For the first time in my adult life as a woman, I became regular in my cycles. Wow, what is that? Reverse the menopause that I had gone through. All of these things, they disappeared a little bit at a time over time. And the chronic fatigue, it finally faded too. Along with all of my sensitivities to chemicals and food allergies. Like, wow, this is a cure-all. It was for me. For many of the problems that I had, they left as a result of getting the minerals into a more a balanced state. And that made all the difference.
Oh my gosh. Wow. And for anyone listening right now, I don't know what kind of chronic conditions, maybe they are going through, but just to hear that, knowing there's light at the end of the tunnel, that is so inspirational. But I want to kind of get a better picture, Eva, of obviously there were certain habits, like you mentioned, that created that environments that led to those chronic conditions. What kind of things were you doing back then that obviously you don't do now, so that our audience kind of have a better picture of oh, these things I'm doing probably is leading to where I'm at today. So could you mind sharing some of these things that you no longer do?
Yeah, I think one of the most common ones for me, and then what I hear from the people that I work with, is that at some point grandmother's wisdom gets thrown out the window because we think we're old enough and we don't need to do it anymore. So it's the eat 3 meals a day, it's the get enough sleep, and I don't mean 4 hours. It's more like go to bed at a normal, 10:30, when the sun goes down, go to bed, and then wake up with the sun. It's fitting into the natural rhythms of the earth. If you can, that's the best thing to do. At least keep it regular. And so if the lifestyle is not working for you and it's causing problems with your health, then it's time to look at what you're tolerating and change that. And so a lot of times I was tolerating other people and they're prioritizing their problems over my own personal care. That had to stop. So those 2 things were primary, is making sure that I prioritized my health and my self-care over all others. And that meant sometimes I had to say no.
So That's amazing, because like that really feeds into everything. Like when you learn how to say no and put your self-care and your physical well-being as a top priority, you also learn how to say no in all other aspects of your life. Like no, like in terms of living in alignment to your values, like that kind of just feed into each other. So and when you were explaining the grandmother wisdom thing, like that is so, I was just thinking, like recently I quit my previous job where I had to work overnight, like graveyard shifts, like 3-4 nights a week, and then my sleeping schedule was totally like not regular. And like after quitting that and now sleeping like on a regular schedule, I just feel different. Like just doing something like this is like a huge shift, but if we are not aware, we kind of can piece those things together.
Yeah.
So Eva, I want to know, and we're wrapping up to the end now. I could talk to you all day, but to respect your time. So would you like mind sharing some inspirational, like, you know, results that you've seen, that your clients seen? Like what are some powerful things that start to show up as they put their health first and do this mineral balance work that they need to do? What can we expect?
Gosh, who do I choose from? I'm thinking about, so there was a one-on-one conversation I was having with a new networking friend of mine. We were waiting for 2 other people who happened to be late, and I wanted happily late because it gave us a chance to connect. And so I was sharing with her the story that I just shared with you, and she started to cry, and I go, what's the matter? And she says, I'm experiencing all of those things. She goes, I'm an actress. I put on one-woman shows. I don't have the energy to do it. And I've got a show coming up and I don't know how I'm going to do it. And she was, I said, well, at the meantime, we were eating lunch and I said, aren't you going to eat anything? She said, I can't eat anything from here. So her food intake had become almost minimal, like none. She couldn't eat this. She couldn't eat that. She couldn't have dairy. She couldn't have bread. She couldn't have. And I went, oh yeah, I used to be like that too. And within short order, she decided, you know what you have to offer, I want to try it. So I didn't know, I expected she would be with me for quite a while, but I want to say that within a 4-month period of time, she went from that, not being able to eat, not being able to go over to friends' houses and eat with them, not be able to enjoy eating out with her family. Yeah. She went from all of that to within 4 months going over to a friend's house, and she's telling me, she goes, Eva, I'm so good. I'm not in fear anymore of whatever somebody's going to throw under my nose to eat. Mm-hmm. It's changed my life and how I live it. And she was able to put on her one-woman show. And she continues to just make the little adjustments to her lifestyle, but the food, being able to eat and enjoy it, it changed her lifestyle and her life and the relationships with her family. They went out to a Mexican food restaurant. Normally she can't eat lime. And she ordered stuff that had all kinds of stuff in it she normally wouldn't eat. And her family's looking at her like, are you sure you want to eat that? Oh my God. So she was fine. So that's a most recent one. And I've had another one where an individual came to me unable, way underweight for his height, couldn't enjoy his marriage. You know, being able to have sex was difficult. Couldn't raise his kids, couldn't go to work, couldn't, you know, he had 5 children. So it's like all of these issues were being compromised. He was so tunnel vision with the pain in his body, he couldn't participate in life. And it took him a little bit longer, dealing with depression, dealing with trauma. So it's the story that we live in our head. This is the reason why I'm having these problems, and I have these problems, so I can't live the life that I want. So it took a lot of counseling through that. And I got to say, now he's at normal, if not more than normal weight, able to exercise, working full time, taking care of, making lunch for the kids, enjoying his marital relations, you know. So erectile dysfunction along with the female reproductive system, both of those can be corrected if the problem is mineral imbalance.
Oh, that's so exciting. And just like I totally like know how it's like when your body doesn't feel good. You don't want to do anything. Like one time I had a terrible ear infection and then I just couldn't do anything. So like when we can feel good, just like, you know, in this body, we get to open up so much more space to create and do other exciting things. So like, I feel like our listeners listening right now, you know, like whatever it is that's stopping them, it could be whatever like physical conditions that just you know, defeating them, and it's not fun. So, and I just love how, Eva, you mentioned this, like, it's not only about changing like a lifestyle, but also who we are being. Like, it's about the mindset and the identities. Like, that's a game changer. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I love this interview so much, and I
I'm
hope
glad.
have been taking notes, because I've definitely been just writing everything down and soaking this in, and obviously go back and listen to this again. And like Eva mentioned, this is something that you got to do, like personalized, customized, like analysis based on what your body needs. So if you want to stay connected to Eva, would you mind telling our listeners how they can find you?
Yeah, the best way, I have a website and it's called theelevateinstitute.com. And on there, when you go to the site on the main page, there's, if you've heard some of these symptoms and you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, I experienced that. I thought it was normal for my age, or that was supposed to happen, right? Because I've reached this certain age or a time in my life. But you know what? It doesn't have to be. So I have a questionnaire on there, and it's, yes, reveal it to me is the button. And when you take that, are you owning your health questionnaire? Doesn't require blood or your firstborn. It's done for free. You answer these questions and you can see if you too might have some imbalances that are creating this environment that's not allowing you to be your full potential. So that's the place to start, is with that questionnaire on theelevateinstitute.com.
Great, awesome. I'll put the link to in the same email that this interview went out to. And Eva, do you have any social media platform they can connect with you as well?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I lately have been contributing quite a bit on a new Facebook group, and it's my own, and it's called True Holistic Healing Club. And you can ask to be a member. And I share in there my tips and tricks and what's going on with the COVID-19 and how to support your immune system naturally without all of this excess. And there's a lot of bad information out there I have to reteach, which is more difficult than teaching it right the first time. But anyways, you'll find ways to interact and learn more about how the body actually works in the True Holistic Healing Club. So Facebook is where it is.
So good. So good. Thank you, Eva, for being so generous today and sharing such fun topic and so important topic with us. And everyone, go connect with Eva right now. Hop off this interview and go connect with her. And also let us know what your biggest takeaways were from this interview. I definitely had a ton, including the detergent that I use. I'm gonna go check that. So let us know, and definitely stay connected with her. And Eva, I want to say thank you again. Such a pleasure to have you. I had so much fun today. Do you have any last words before we end this off today?
No, I feel like I've said a lot. And really, I want to say, I want to listen. I want to hear what other people are experiencing, because that's probably the best place to start. So, and in fact, that's another resource, is when you do take that hair questionnaire, or I should say the Are You Owning Your Health questionnaire, it offers you a 20-minute free consultation. And I'm going to spend most of my time listening, right? So I'm going to listen to what's going on with you, and I'll give you some tips that you can utilize right then and there on the phone. So take advantage of that.
Great. Yeah. Yay, thank you. I'll take advantage of that too.
Yes. Good.
So, all right, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you for another bonus episode tomorrow. All right, take care.